You know, tonight's message was kind of on my heart. I actually just got finished boxing, and it's kind of weird. It's ironic that I was tired, honestly. Like, I wanted to quit, I wanted to give up. But the two words never settle, which I talk about a lot, popped into my head. And I want to talk about that tonight from every aspect of life. But I want you guys right now to make a decision, and a real decision. A real decision means that there's no other options. Okay, I'm not talking about an idea. I'm not talking about being motivated. I'm not talking about being inspired tonight. I'm talking about you making a real decision to never settle in your life. All right, try your best. We're human, right? We're going to make mistakes. But so many areas in our life, we tend to settle. And if you talk to anybody, even myself, when I look back on my life and I regret certain things and I wish I could change certain things, when I look back over my life and I regret, it's because I settled somewhere in my life. So right now, I really want you to, whatever it is for you, it might be a relationship, it might be a business, it might be an idea, it might be your mental, it might be your spiritual walk, it might be your physical walk, right? It might be everything in your life. And so many times we choose to settle. I'm gonna tell you something. When you choose to settle in your life, what you're telling yourself is that you're not enough. You're teaching yourself to accept less. You're teaching yourself to accept less. And what happens when we settle? We usually get in situations. But a lot of times what happens is we put ourselves in these situations where we settle and we end up being stressed. We settle for less and we end up being stressed. We settle for less and we end up having mess in our life. We settle for less and all these things happen. And so what I need you right now to do is really make a decision to say, you know what, no matter what, where I'm at in my life, what I'm going through, how hard it may look, I'm not going to settle. And this might be even in your relationship. Maybe your relationship can be great. Maybe your relationship can be to another level. But you or your partner, your husband or your wife, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you guys are settling. You guys got comfortable and you're settling in the love that you're giving that person. Just imagine, right? And you might say, well, Trent, how can I not settle in a relationship? One of the best ways is to put yourself in their shoes. And I'm not talking about an abusive situation. I'm not talking about a toxic situation. You guys see my video, so you know how I feel about that. But what if you put yourself in their shoes and you gave them the love that you wanted to receive? You gave them the support that you wanted to receive. You gave them the understanding that you wanted to receive. You gave them the respect that you wanted to receive. Just imagine what your relationship would feel like, would look like. Just envision that. But so many times we settle for just enough. And usually just enough turns into misery. Just enough turns into a broken situation, a broken thing, a broken heart, because we settle for just enough. Or I'm good, I give just enough support, or I give just enough love. And on the flip side, some of us, we get in relationships where we settle, right? That relationship isn't for us. It's not the relationship God has for us. It's the relationship our emotions have for us. Let's be real about it tonight. Let's be real about it tonight. And we wonder why relationships fail. It was going to fail from the get-go. Because we let all these things, right, all these circumstances put us in a certain relationship. And it ended up being the wrong relationship. We let all these circumstances drive our life. Loneliness, right? Maybe it's comparison to other people. Maybe it's support, financial. And we get in all these situations where we settle for less and we wonder why we're stressed. We wonder why we're miserable. We wonder why we're unhappy. In my video, I talked about staying single, and that's what I mean. Like, don't get in a relationship just to have the title. And so many times when I talk about our circumstances, I'm going to just be transparent tonight. A lot of times we allow sex to pick out our relationship. Just because the sex is good, we think the relationship is good. And once that sex thing wears off, we realize the relationship sucks. But we already got a spiritual bond going on, and it's hard to break free. Or sometimes it is our loneliness, right? We don't like to be alone. Being alone sucks at times. So we say, you know what? This is better than nothing. Accepting less is better than nothing. And you realize that it isn't. Because you realize that it puts you in a worse situation than where you ever started out at. Because we choose to settle for less. And you might say, well, Trent, even from a standpoint of financial, we get in situations where we're struggling financially. So if I get in this situation or I stay in this situation for the finances, it'll be good. Or maybe it's our personal life with our dreams and our vision, right? We go do things for money. And we say, you know what, the money is good, so the purpose has to be good. Then it has to be good for my life. And we realize when we chase the money and we settle for money, instead of purpose, instead of truth, instead of our values, instead of our principles, instead of our integrity, when we settle for these things, what happens? We end up miserable. We realize that it doesn't fulfill us. We realize that we're empty because we choose to settle for less. And I know it's hard. So you might be saying, well, Trent, I hear you talking. Like, what's some steps? I'm not going to give you steps tonight because I can give you all the steps in the world. But until you're serious about your life, until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, until you're saying enough is enough, it doesn't matter. I can give you all the steps in the world. It's really simple. Easier said than done, right? But it's easy. It's very simple. It's very simple. And I'm going to tell you something that's helped me. And this is just a suggestion. Like, I'm not a person that's some type of guru, that some type of whatever people call themselves. I'm not that guy. I'm just a guy that tries to help. I'm just a guy that tries to give you some worth, help you realize your worth and understand your worth, help you grow your life, help you realize that you are incredible, help you realize that God created you and there's nobody like you, help you realize that once you never settle in your life can skyrocket, right? Your peace is there. All these things are there. So you might be asking, well, Trent, give me something. This is something that I do that helps me. All right? What I prioritize in my life helps my life. And so when I prioritized in my life, in my past, and I went through a lot. Like, I'm not a person up here at the top of the mountain saying, look at me, look what I did. I went through a lot. And when I prioritized the wrong things, when I prioritized money, when I prioritized sex, when I prioritized all these things of the world, because I had a void in my life that I was trying to fill. So I said, if I settle, at least this void will be filled. At least I will feel some type of empowerment. And yes, I did for a second, but it was a temporary fulfillment. As I always use this analogy, it's like if I had this Gatorade bottle and there was a hole at the end. I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. If I had a hole at the end of this Gatorade bottle and I can fill it up as much as I want, but slowly that water would leak out and I would be empty again. And that's what a lot of things we do in this world, a lot of things we go chase and a lot of things we go pursue, a lot of things we allow in our life. There are things that look good to us. There are things that seem good, but there are things that are temporary. And we end up feeling empty again, and we settle for these things, and we dig ourselves in a deeper hole when it comes to our worth, when it comes to loving ourselves, when it comes to knowing ourselves, when it comes to respecting ourselves. And so one thing that's helped me is I make sure I prioritize the right things in my life. The right things in my life, right? So I don't no longer settle. So when it comes to whether it's doing this, whether it comes to rehab time or myself, I don't prioritize the things that the likes or the fame or the money. I prioritize my purpose. I prioritize my values. I allow those things to make a decision for me. And no matter how hard it may get, no matter how much of a struggle it may be, no matter how much a temptation it is to say, you know what, I'm just going to take a little bit of this. Because I tell you right now, what you try once could be what you get addicted to. Addictions start by trying things once. So be very careful what you allow in your life. Be very careful of who you allow in your life. Be very careful of those things. And so with me, I make sure my priorities are right. I allow those principles to make a decision for me. And I'm not going to settle in my life. So with you, in your life right now, you got to find something you got to prioritize. You got to find something that's your go-to that says, you know what, no matter how good it may look, no matter how good it may seem, whatever it is, this is what I'm basing my life off of, my values, my priorities. And if it doesn't match up, if it's not in alignment, I can't take the assignment, straight up. And I want you to understand that. So whatever it is in your life, like I said, if it's in your relationship, making your relationship better, think about those things. How are you selling? Because at the end of the day, when this life is over with, because as you guys know, tomorrow is not guaranteed. And some of us, we live like tomorrow's promise. We take things for granted, me included at times. But whether on your sick bed or your last days, the things that you're going to think about, yes, the things you accomplished, but the things that you wasted, the conversations you didn't have, the love you didn't give, right? The things you didn't pursue. Maybe the things you allowed in your life that sucked, but you sat there and settled for it. And you lived a miserable life because you were too afraid to be alone. You were too afraid to break free from the pain that's breaking you. And so I need you tonight to make that decision to never settle. Okay? Really make that decision and write down reasons why. Because when the why is strong enough, When the why is strong enough, when the reason is strong enough not to settle, I promise you, you won't do it. Because you have something else that's really driving your life. So that temptation can't break through that. Because your why is too strong. Right? That eye candy that looks good to your eye can't break through that. Because your why is too strong. That fear can't break through that. That doubt can't break through that. That worry can't break through that. Because your why is too strong.